You're listening to RTI Audio, powered by Rocky Top Insider. This is Pancakes and Bacon with VFL, Kyler Kerbyson, and Reed Bacon.
Hello, Vol Nation. Welcome to another episode of Pancakes and Bacon. I'm your host, as always, Kyler Kerbyson, joined with Reed Bacon. Have another great one. We're talking all offense. Now that we're getting into the season, we're getting closer. It's getting very exciting. It's really just rewatching the Iowa game and like flutters, just getting hyped for it. So we're talking all offense. We're going to talk about skill guys, talk about big boys, talk about the quarterback position. And just what we're looking for, what we're looking to see, what we think can happen. But before we get into any of that, first and foremost, most importantly, Reed, how we doing, bud?
Hello, Kyler. How are you, big fella?
I'm great. Just did a little bit of yard work, finished up some laundry. Always gives me like a little twinge of happiness when I like cross stuff off the list. Sometimes I put too much merit in that, and then I get really pissed off if I don't complete it. So I got to work on that internally, But yeah, doing great.
Oh, don't worry. I knew you were doing work because today I tried to call you while I was making breakfast, getting ready for this, and it's like, yeah, so we're gonna. I was like, what the fuck is going on over there, bro? It's like 9 a.m. Like, what are you doing? You're like, I'm just sawing some wood or something.
Just cutting some hedges.
It's just craziness. My hedges are already high again, too, and I do not want to do that again. I don't mind the trimming of the hedges. I hate the cleanup. Yeah.
Picking up is tough. And my hedges, I've got hedges that are literally on the border of our property line, and it's like one side of the hedges is over the sidewalk, so it's like I've got all of it on the sidewalk, and it's even more of like a, hey, you can't just leave that there. If it was in my yard, I'd be like, yeah, maybe I can get that tomorrow, but it's like, no, you can't leave hedges just laying on the sidewalk.
So I did that, actually. Shocker. So yeah, so Megan and I's house is Sutherland is right there, Kingston Pike is right there, but we have a sidewalk that people can walk up and down, and our hedges go right there. And so your boy chops them up, and I'm just like scooted them over enough so that because we have a ton of bikers and walkers that come by, so I just didn't need like the Big Daddy a branch getting stuck in the wheel. Did you remember Big Daddy, Adam Sandler movie? So
yeah.
So I brushed him through
right in front of your house.
I brushed him to the side. I did go pick him up the next day or whatever. But yeah, it's funny you say that. So I'm doing well. It's funny you're in your all black, looking like a handsome devil. I just put this on today, so you may realize that I used to have one like this. This is the new one.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit bigger, I had to get a size up. I like my stuff nice and loose. And I gave my dad the old.
We're going to be the same weight here soon.
No. But I did give my dad.
How much do you weigh right now?
What's that?
How much do you weigh right now?
Well, after I got through, listen, I maintained very well through the wedding and through the honeymoon. So I'm still at 230. But here's the deal. For like Megan, there's a running joke that when I met Megan, I was like 215, 218, 220. And I kept always being like, yeah, I really got to get on this. I really got to drop about 10 pounds, whatever. And then I had a horrendous November and December last year where,
Those are always bad.
I literally just went from, like hovering 218 to like consistently 230. I put 12 pounds on in 2 months. Disaster. And so anyways, the joke's been since then. I was like, well, don't worry. When I walk down the aisle on wedding day, I'm going to be 205, 210. It's like, we're still here.
Got the tux at 230, going to be 205.
and I'm here. I will. And the thing is I've done it I've done it 3 or 4 times in the past where I'd get as big as I could, strong as I could, and then I'd cut it way down. Obviously, it's much more difficult now that I'm older, but it'll get there. So, you're in your all black, looking handsome. I feel like I'm pasty over here. I had a great tan coming from the honeymoon, and now I haven't been out, and I need to get my tan back. But doing well.
Outside every single day for work, so it's like honestly, it's probably not a good thing. See if you can see that line. Yeah. Like I got some lines like on my arm, just that farmer's tan line. It's a tough look.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah. Well, big shout out to Talking Vols and Boogie and Coach Jay. That was fun. Wednesday night was fun. We really enjoyed that. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. So hopefully we'll be doing that with them a little bit more often. Today we're just talking, as Kyler has it, this is all offense. So we're going to do all offense, our opinion. We know that over the past 5 months, this is all it's been on sports talk and other stuff besides baseball, thank goodness. But it's talking about who you think is going to do this, who you think is going to do that. And really, none of us really have an idea because none of us are at practice and none of us are really seeing stuff. The only information we're going to be given is what UT wants to put out. Kyler mentioned he went back and watched Iowa. I've gone back and watched Iowa. You can try to read the tea leaves when you listen to coaches and stuff, but we're just going to talk about how we feel about the offense going into this year. Next week, we'll be talking about the defense going into this year, and then we're going to do our season breakdown, and then it's go time because we really get to break down film. So before I shut up, the last thing, the quote of the day is can't get your own steak because you're watching my plate, and that is a gangster's pain, Moneybag Yo. And I love that quote because I feel like it is very much indicative into how people are in general, and especially in 2024 and the past couple of years where there's so much social media, people try to fake stuff online. That's probably really not how they actually live. Yeah. But especially in sports and especially in camp, if you're worrying about somebody else and what they're doing and not taking your opportunity and taking the bull by the horns, you're absolutely messing up a golden opportunity. And that's why I like that quote. And by the way, each week, Kyler and I are not going to be, getting into our inner depths of our OG gangster lifestyle. That just happened to be that those two quotes these past week have been from that genre. So, but I love the quote and I think it's great for camp.
Yeah, no, I think it is. I think it's a common kind of phrase, not necessarily like in the way he said it, but it's like, quit pocket watching, quit looking at the next guy. Don't be jealous of someone else. Focus on yourself. Like, envy is just, 7 deadly sins. So it's like all of it pertains in camp. It can be very tough because you are competing with the guys. You're competing with the guys in your position room. You're trying to get more reps than them. And there are times where you're like, why are they getting more? I feel like I deserve more. I feel like I do a lot of work. I feel like, I know the offensive plays better, or I know the defensive plays better, or whatever it may be. But it's like, you just got to put your head down. You got to grind. You got to put forth. Sometimes you got to be humble too. Be like, hey, I didn't catch enough balls. Hey, I didn't break that route off at 12. I broke it off at 11. Like, I need to be better.
Kyler, let me say this. I think one of the best one of the best pieces of advice someone gave me, and I wish I would have heard it like my junior or senior year of high school, but they told it to me before I was going to Memphis. And the reason I said I wish I would have known it earlier is because I didn't really get to implement it at Memphis because I wasn't there long enough. But it still was good and it still resonated and it did mean a lot to me. But they said, don't take what these coaches say to heart, good or bad. If they're praising you and they're saying all this stuff, don't let it get you too high. Don't let it really affect your mood. And if they dog cuss you, do not take it personal. That's just how it is. Now, unfortunately, I wish that the coaching community and the college atmosphere didn't have to feel like you got to dog cuss someone. That's just how people are, but that's okay. But I thought it was a great piece of advice of like, stay the course. Even if it's good, stay the course. Don't listen to all that stuff.
Yeah. It's very easy to get content.
Yes.
When when you're getting some praise, you're a starter, you're a whatever. Like if you know that your position's pretty safe, like a good example is like a Brew McCoy. Like Brew knows that his position's safe. He knows that he's a starting wide receiver. He knows that he's a leader of that room. Like it can be very easy for someone like that to be content. I'm good. I don't need to put in extra time. I don't need to try anymore. I know what I need. I know what I'm doing, but that can really damper because they say it all the time. You're either getting better or you're getting worse. There's no staying the same.
And the bad thing about it if that's coming from someone like a Brew McCoy, it festers. It starts leaking out into the rest of the team.
I'm literally just using that as an example.
Yeah,
that was the first person I could think of that has like a real hold on a position room. So I was like, but I don't think that's in Brew's mentality whatsoever. Based off of how hard he's worked and how much he cares about this. Like, no, that's not who he is. But I was just like, that is an example of if you were in that position, what do you do? How do you respond?
Yeah, agreed. Well, let's talk about it. We're going into skill guys. I'm excited to hear, how do you feel about skills, meaning running back, quarterback, and receivers going into this year?
So receivers is the one thing that I have ups and downs about, right? I'm very high about Brew. I'm very high about Squirrel. I like both of them. I like the way that they play. I like the style of play they have. I like the fact that Brew is never out of sorts, that he's always like, he's very diligent in his route running, and he's a big body, and he's not going to take shit from anybody. He's going to be a great blocker for us. I love Squirrel's like little man syndrome in a way. His attitude towards like, I'm going to give it all I got, and people might underestimate me, but I'm going to show you. And I think he's gotten better as the years have gone on. I felt like we didn't necessarily get him as many touches as I wanted last year. So I'm excited for him to be in more of a role. And then the rest of the guys, I'm just not sure about, right? I just don't know how high they will go, how low they will go. You got Dante Thornton, who's been in the offense for a few years, who's shown some good things, some bad things. We've seen some bad drops from him. We've seen some good catches from him. So it's like, are you going to be that great number two? Because honestly, like in the lineup of wide receivers, like I see Squirrel getting in the slot position more than outside. Now, does that mean he's not going to get like a screen in the flat with Dante blocking for him? No, he will get one of those. But like I see him as like, give me some corner routes, give me some, digs, give me some whip routes on these linebackers. Like that takes advantage of the defense a lot. So I see like Dante could be that number two, that outside wide receiver, Brew Dante.
Yeah.
But it's just, hey, where are you at? Have you progressed? Because we've gotten so many good recruits in the wide receiver position room that it's like, what are these guys doing, right? What are the Caleb Webbs, the Nathan Leacocks, the Chaz Nimrods, the new guys, Braylon Staley, Mike Matthews? All of them have a certain hype to them from just high school coming in. And we haven't really gotten to see those, first three that I mentioned very much. So it's like, are they stepping up in practice? Are they making plays? Because, hearing Ricky Gibson the other week in his interview, his first receiver he calls out is Braylon Staley. I'm like, okay.
No, Chris Brazel.
Oh, he called out. I thought it was Braylon Staley he called out.
Chris Brazel.
Okay. So it's like, if a corner who's getting a lot of play right now and the first wide receiver he calls out is Brazel, then maybe it's like, hey, this guy's above those rests that we were waiting on, right? Because we kind of been waiting on the Leacocks, the Webbs, the
Nimrods.
Like we've been waiting on them to show up, but it's like, hey, here's a transfer dude who's like, I'm big, 6'5". Like I'm gonna go high point that ball. Like you're not gonna be able to take it away from me. Kind of remind me of damn, what was his name with and played with the Saints.
Michael Thomas? Marcus Colston?
No, recently. Played with Juwan Jennings and then was with
Marquez Callaway.
Callaway, exactly.
Good.
So like reminded me of like a Callaway where it's like the biggest thing Callaway had is like, I know when the ball's going to get there. I'm high pointing it.
He was so slept on as a UT player. He was nasty. I mean, that Georgia Tech game, he basically single-handedly won us that game, him and Darrell Taylor.
No, for real. So what about the wide receiver room in your eyes?
Yeah, it's really funny, and I don't think going to practice would maybe change my opinion on everything that much. Maybe it would. Maybe that's me being ignorant and being like, no, if I went out and saw a good 2.5 hours and I'm seeing who's running with the ones and twos, I'm seeing how people are eating up on one-on-ones, like maybe that would make me feel better. I still feel like I need to believe it or see it to believe it on game day. I'm optimistic though, but it's weird, Kyler, because I've really been thinking about this and I've been hearing so many other people talk about it. I knew we were going to finally dive in and give our opinions on it. It's weird that I'm very optimistic about the season and I'm very excited about the season. I think we're going to do well, but it's like we truly don't know, honestly. Like we don't have a Hendon Hooker coming back for another season and know that he has the ability to reach the ceiling. Now,
it's like we know we have, I would say, four total good skill guys, which is Brew, Squirrel, Dylan, and Nico. And it's like,
but see, I would even argue that we don't truly know Nico yet. Like I've said, and I'm not trying to get off the wide receivers. I'll get back there. It's just a wild thing. Is like I have it in my gut that I think Nico's going to be really, really good, but like he has to show us something. And so to the wide receiver room, I'm like, 2 years ago we lose Cedric Tillman and Jalen, and I'm like, I think we'll still be this good this year. And this year there were times where Joe maybe did put it on the money and they dropped it, or maybe there was some separation issues. I brought it up. You and I were up in the South Carolina game. We were up there in the top, loved those seats. We could really see stuff down. And I looked at you and said, bro, there's some times where I think our guys are locked up. Well, let me out. I'm locked up. Well, let me out. Yeah, so our boys are just getting straight ACON and getting locked up. But
yeah, I think Ramel Keaton had a little bit of a regression too.
Yeah, and so it's like we're so excited about Ramel after he makes the awesome catch against Florida. He comes in and plays big in his spots, which is something to say about that. To be able to play big in those spots and you're not a starter, you have to be very prepared mentally. But then, like, he played really well against Clemson, but then it's still that whole, like, we were expecting that next step, and it's when you lose a Ced Tillman and you don't have to be the guy, and you lose a guy, like, and I'm talking if I'm Ramel or I'm Squirrel or I'm someone else, and it's like, knowing Jalen's on the inside of me is very nice because they're watching him over the top strictly because of his speed. And so, yeah, so you kind of lose those guys, and then going into last year, I'm like, no, I think we'll still be pretty good. And there were times where I thought that we didn't have that game breaker like we needed to. And so now going into this year, it's like I tie all that in to say, am I doing going into this season like I did last season, where there hasn't been a lot of proven commodities, but yet I'm still thinking we're going to be good.
Yeah.
And I do think that they'll be good because I think there's a lot of talent in that room.
It was the same thought process with Joe at quarterback. Like, we really didn't know which Joe we were going to be getting.
Sure. And so, agreed. And you and I talked about that. Orange Bowl Joe or Pittsburgh Joe. So, So to finish it up and not just keep laboring on I trust Brew. I trust Squirrel. I trust Squirrel even more, though, if there's another dynamic playmaker on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a knock on Squirrel. That's just if you're a slot guy, it makes a big difference if you do have someone else on the outside. And I think Mike and Braylon are going to be good players. I don't want to say that I expect a lot from them this year. Dante, I'm kind of out on Dante a little bit, and that's no knock on him. I was excited. I didn't see what I need to see. Unfortunately, he got hurt, and the play he got hurt on was a fantastic catch. That's the plays that we thought he was going to be making.
Yeah.
But I still just can't keep giving credit when I haven't seen it yet. So I'm kind of like, we'll see what happens with Dante, especially coming off the injury. We've heard great things about Chris from Ricky Gibson and stuff. So, but like, I still haven't seen it with my eyes.
Yeah.
So, and that's just the type of person I am, is I need to see it with my eyes to trust it. So do I think the wide receiver core will be good? Yes. Do I think that we'll be really, really good or even elite? I don't know. I think it's unfair, and I'm not knocking someone else's opinion. It's just my opinion. I think it's unfair to be like, receivers, check, we're good there, because we have names. Just because there's some names, don't let those names be names because they haven't done anything yet, but just because they're a big-time recruit or whatever. Now, the nice thing about Chris is he is coming from another, from college. He's not a high school kid putting a lot on him. So I will say this. I'm expecting no less than like a B, but I really need them to be like B+, A-, A. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. I would slightly agree with you with a B. I don't think they need to be A-.
Okay.
I don't think they need to be for us to be successful.
Well, what's your definition of success? Real quick? What do you want this year? Let's just say that real quick. What do you want this year, so that we know what we're talking about, what we need from these groups?
I want a. I want
the playoff.
I want a playoff.
Okay, that's fine. I'm good with that. We get in at 12. So say if we go 10-2 and we can get the 12 spot.
We don't make the SEC championship, but we still get into the playoff. I'm happy.
And that's what I want.
With where we're at.
Yeah, that's what I want. Okay. So that's what we're talking about. We want to be 10-2, and hopefully 10-2 gets us in there.
Yeah.
Based on okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry, go ahead. So
but yeah, I don't necessarily think they need to be A-, and I think it's because of the way I view the offense and the way I view Nico and his strengths. Like, it just makes me feel like he doesn't need this out of this world wide receiver core. It's just, give me some good catches, give me some effort, give me some good plays. And I think we're going to have a strong running game this year. Like, so I'm excited about our running game.
You just need them to do their job and do it pretty well. You're not needing someone to go for 12 catches, 230 and 2 tutties.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we both feel, and we're pretty excited to see the wide receivers, but there's still some unknown besides the 2 guys.
Exactly.
And I'm going to tell you right now, sleeper, I'm not saying he's going to be a starter. I'm not going to say he's even going to have top 3 best stats out of the wide receiver room, but I'll be surprised if Chaz Nimrod doesn't make a couple big plays this year, because I remember him coming out and really liking him, because I said, I don't think he does anything incredible. I think he does everything really pretty good. And he's kind of been that guy that no one really talks about, and he's yet just making plays randomly. And like, he doesn't get his kudos, but it's like, that was a hell of a catch and play he made against Kentucky. Now he's looking bigger and stronger. You're always going to talk about Brew. You're always going to talk about Squirrel. We got the big flashy toys with Chris and Dante and the freshmen. Where does Caleb Webb, does he take another step, or is he kind of going to show us he is who he is? But I feel really good about Chaz. Because he's the guy he just gives the vibe that he's just a pro's pro. Like, he's going to block well. He's going to catch well. It's not going to be anything flashy, but I'll be surprised if we're not on a podcast talking about a couple big plays that Chaz makes.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
I like that
okay.
call.
Another one, running backs.
Running backs.
What are you thinking?
I am so excited to see Dylan Sampson as RB1. He fits the mold of what we've gone for so far in Heupel's offense since he's been here, over the 3 to 4 years now. That quick, agile, give me those passes as well. I can run between the tackles. We like to spread out and then run between the tackles. I think him being there can be such a threat that it opens up Nico running the ball as well. Like designed quarterback powers and designed outside zone quarterback runs and designed options are all on the table, and it is so exciting. The reason why I said that thing about the wide receivers is because in 2015, my last year at Tennessee, and we had Dobbs, Jalen Hurd, Alvin Kamara in the backfield. We rushed for more yards that year than any Tennessee team had done ever. And I'm telling you that because there were times in football where people didn't throw the ball. Okay. Like we started playing football a long time ago. Okay. And people didn't throw it. So we rushed for more yards that season than any team had done. And it's because of the absolute monsters we had in the backfield with all different skill sets, and every single one of them could run and knew what they were doing running the ball. And you got to see glimpses of that in Iowa with Nico and how he's able to find the holes and how he's able to move around. And then Dylan has shown just so much promise in what he's been able to do that it makes me excited for the run game. I absolutely love it. And then I'm looking at the rest of the running backs in the room, and I'm like, okay, you recruited and signed all three of these guys knowing that you had Dylan and that you had Jalen and that you had
Jabari.
Kind of smaller backs, quicker backs. And then you brought in Cam Seldon, big old boy who can still move, still catch the ball. Peyton Lewis, another big kid who's a freshman, but I mean, I've seen multiple highlights on their social media of Peyton Lewis moving really well. And then you got Khalifa Keith, who's thick as heck too. He's like almost 240. And it's like, now we have a different kind of running back room. Yes, we still have Dylan, who's that quick, agile, can move around. But Dylan put on weight because he knew it'd be RB1. He'd be getting more hits on him. And behind him are big boys.
I don't think you should sleep on Deshaun Bishop either. I think based on
and he's a big boy too.
Based on what you and I saw, I will always tell that story. You know, if Deshaun Bishop goes on to have a great career here, we're going to go back to that being like, you and I walk around practice, and we're saying like, this is when we had full access. Well, you still have full access, but I was able to be there. And we're watching the drill of running backs picking up linebackers on blitz. So it's literally running backs are supposed to block, and the linebackers are supposed to try to get to the quarterback. And we see this guy who's good size, like, you know, meaty, but he's not that tall and overly huge. And I'm like, dang, who is 25 or whatever his number was? I was like, stuck his nose in there and stuck that backer. And we're like, I have no idea who that is. So we're like, maybe it's just a walk-on. And then we find out it was Deshaun Bishop. And we're like, boy, had a nice practice.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, the running back room was very, very deep last year. But, like, it's a weird thing. And it's not fair, but it's like the receiving room has Brew and Squirrel and then everyone else. I'm like, okay, let's see. I think they'll be fine. This one, all I know is Dylan, but I'm like, I think they're going to be pretty darn good. Yeah. I don't think any of them, once again, are going to necessarily, besides Dylan, are going to be elite this year. I could see where a Peyton Lewis or a Cam Seldon could be pretty darn close to elite. I'm not saying Jahmyr Gibbs or Bijan Robinson, but I'm saying higher level than Jalen Wright and Jabari Small.
Yeah.
Now, before I keep talking, I want to ask you a question.
Okay.
Do you think that Dylan will be better than Jabari and Jalen? And do you think – so that's the one. Do you think he'll be better? But do you also think that he has better natural gifts?
Well, Dylan doesn't have the natural gifts that Jalen had in the top end speed and the kind of size advantage. I think Jalen was really capable of breaking some arm tackles and getting away from stuff where Dylan doesn't have as much weight to him, and that's nothing that he can do about it. I mean, he said he put on weight this year because he was going to be RB1. And but the agility that Dylan has is better than both of those guys, I think. I love Jabari Small's juke and his cut, and he's able to make guys miss. I thought it was better than all three of them. But
his pass protection was kind of nice too.
Yeah, his pass protection was good. But Dylan's agility, like his ability to stay up off the ground, his ability to, have a half of a fall and then put his hand down in the dirt and stay up, bounce off of guys when he gets hit, like that kind of stuff. It's very funny that he's number 6, but it reminds us of Alvin. Like it does. And I think he has a chance to do very, very well in this offense. I don't know if I've seen a consistent, like, I can outrun this defender for a 70-yard touchdown, 60-yard touchdown. I don't know if I've seen that from Dylan yet, and I don't know if he has that top-end speed like Jalen did last year. And then
overall for the season, though, what do you think? Who do you think that he could be better statistically in performances? Overall, everything.
I think he could, because you know what I think he's going to get more of is passes out of the backfield.
Right. That's where I was going to go.
I think he's going to get more of that, and it's going to make a huge difference to Nico and Nico's growth. Those are typically easier passes. Those are easier reads. He has an advantage on the linebacker. He's quicker than. So those will help Nico. Those are the dump offs when everybody else is covered. So I like that a lot. I do think he can have a very, very good season. And I really hope that Dylan has, and I think he has, like, taken this as a leadership kind of role as being RB1. But I really hope he has taken seriously, like, Nico is as far as we go, and I need to protect this man.
Bingo.
And
so
pride in it the same way that the offensive line has pride in it. That's what I want my running backs to have. I don't know if it is always like that. And when I think back about pass protection, when it comes to our quarterbacks, I have seen times where Dylan hasn't done what he needs to do, whether that be MAs, he's not really understanding who he's supposed to pick up, or just like you're not putting yourself in right technical position to be able to do your job. But that doesn't mean he can't.
Right. And I know it's the battle.
He was young and he was the third string. And it's like, listen, I get it. Like, but that happened. So understand that happened and grow from it. Jesus, dude.
Sorry. Allergies.
For audio listeners, golly.
Sorry. I was gonna try to. Oh, there is a mute on here. Sorry. I'm using my laptop today and not my phone. So I just looked it up. This is nice that I have my phone I'm not recording on my phone because I can look up stuff like this. I don't have my iPad with me. But do I think that rushing yards Jalen had 1,000 on the season. Now, I get it. Hold on, everyone. Pump the brakes. I know that he was tandem with Jabari. They would go back and forth. Even Dylan caught the hot hand in the Kentucky game, things like that. So I'm not knocking him as a player. I know that he had to split time. But it's not going to surprise me if Dylan can stay healthy, that if the guy goes for 13, 14, 1,500 yards rushing, another 5, 6, 7, 800 yards receiving, I think he's that dynamic. I don't know. I know he came out of Louisiana. You and I loved him. He had the track speed and stuff like that. And I think Peyton Lewis is going to be very, very fast as well. Jalen did prove it, though, on the football field when he's running by Georgia safeties and Georgia's defensive backs and, whatever else. But I think with the vision and the shake and wiggle, and Jalen would run through arm tackles. I think whether Dylan's running through them or whether he just bounces off of them, I think even for his size, he's going to have that capability, like you said, like AK, where you're just watching, you're like, what's going on here? Like, how does he make these guys miss? How do they just seem like they're just falling off of him like he's Derrick Henry
that
style?
Kentucky game, one of those last drives, like it was all Dylan Sampson and getting huge first downs for us just because
and it's like it makes sense if he wiggles and pops and jukes or sidesteps, but there are ones where guys are coming in and hitting him in his thighs and in his legs and even upper body, and he just keeps going. So I asked you that because I was curious. And so I think, and you kind of hit it, the receiving aspect of it too is going to be huge. Mm-hmm. So I think we both are very excited and we feel very, very good about Dylan. We do need him, and I'm expecting him as a third-year guy. I think his pass protection will be just fine. We still need to see it. I'll be excited when I see a guy that's much bigger than him coming in, having to beat on Nico, and just stick your nose in there, get up under their chin strap, and stall them out. And so once I see that once or twice, I'll feel good about it. But to get the guys behind them, like I said, it's not fair because they're still very much unproven. But I'm excited and I'm very optimistic, and more optimistic than I am about the receivers that I haven't seen. And maybe that's because, no offense to some people, but I think running back could be slightly easier than receiver. When hey, here's the rock, make something happen, make a miss. I think with Heupel's offense, we've seen it where you're not getting touched until you are equal with the linebackers at the second level. Mm-hmm. And so I just think the skill set is, I think all those guys, at least of Deshaun Bishop and Dylan, I trust their wiggle. I trust Cam Seldon just running fast. I don't know how much wiggle he's going to have, but just burling through people, getting you up 5, 6, 7, 8 yards. I don't know how I feel about Khalif besides getting that extra umph. Mm-hmm. But then I think Deshaun Bishop could be pretty nice, like all the way around. So
yeah.
Now this conversation changes drastically if we lose Dylan at some point during the year.
Oh yeah,
it changes drastically. Now, for example, if you lose a Brew or you lose a Squirrel, you think you have much more depth there that you can replace. But if you lose Dylan, because we're not there, and no one else is there except the coaches. So it's like we don't really know what else is there. So maybe I shouldn't feel that way.
I mean, none of those other guys have actually gotten playing time where it's like in the wide receiver room, we've Dante's played, Chase Nimrod's played, Caleb Webb's played. Like these guys have gotten time. Chris, Brazel played at another team, but he still has playing time. Like it's, Peyton, Bishop, Keith, like none of these guys have got like legit time.
I'm so excited to see Peyton Lewis, though. I'm so excited. We loved his film coming out, and I'm excited to see him. Lastly, for quarterbacks.
Hold on. We got quarterbacks our own section.
Oh, yeah. I didn't see that. Hit the big boys.
We'll go big boys. So I included tight ends in the big boy section. Want to start with them. One that, we have a transfer from Notre Dame, which in Holden stays, which he's got 22 games under his belt. He's a junior. He has started in 9 and played big-time football. that in and of itself is just like fantastic, like experience. You're telling me I have an experienced tight end to go with my first year starting quarterback? Thank you. Right? Thank you, because he's going to be included on 6-man protection sometimes. Thank you, because he's going to be the outlet receiver when everything else breaks down. Thank you, because he is the one who's going to run short, intermediate routes that are simple, and might be the first read for Nico. Like, knowing that we have a tight end that has experience, that is that for a first year quarterback, I love it. That's what I want. Like literally, if you just think about like an offense and you're like, I have a first year quarterback, what things do I need to put in place to make sure he has success? It's like, you need to run the ball well, and you need to get him short, intermediate passes early, and you need to have some good tight ends that can help him out. And it's like, that's okay, great, because I've got him, and then I've also got Ethan Davis.
Yeah.
And since day one, Nico and Ethan Davis have been practicing together since day one. Day one of spring, they're practicing together. They're the two young guys. They're going in the same team periods. They're going together. I think there's so much chemistry with them. We saw it in their first spring games together, where Nico escapes the pocket. Ethan plays, backyard football, and is like, all right, I'm going off my route. I'm going to try and get open. And Nico hits him down the sideline. And it's like, those guys are connecting together from they literally have been doing it from day one.
Right.
So it makes me feel even better of like, now Ethan's in there more. He is more of that receiving tight end. I think that's like a lethal combo that excites me so much. And you know how much I love like pop passes over the middle to the tight ends. And I think our running game is going to be a huge, huge part of our offense. So it opens that up more. So I'm very excited about the tight end position. I've always loved tight ends. Always secretly wanted to be a tight end. So it's like, they hold the special part. As a big boy growing up, you want to be a tight end or a linebacker. You don't want to actually be the offensive lineman or D tackle. You want to get a little bit thinner, a little bit faster, a little bit quicker.
Hey, people, this is no joke. When Kyler was finished and he retired and wasn't playing in the NFL or the CFL anymore, and he was back here in Knoxville living, and he was playing, and one of our buddies put a flag football team together, and I was in Nashville at the time, and he was calling me. He's like, bro, he's like, you gotta see Kyler out on the flag football field. I'm like, yeah, I bet he's awesome. Like, I bet no one touches you at quarterback if he's blocking. He's like, no. He plays like tight end and goes out for us. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like, I bet that. Like, Kyler had dropped down to about, 260, 250 at that time. And he's always had good hands. And our buddy Tyler was like, I'm telling you, he mosses people. He's good on his routes. He blocks people out. He's like, he's nasty. And then I showed up and got to see it. And I was like, it was so funny that Kyler would play lineman. No one could get around him and flag as a lineman. But then when we needed something, he'd be like, all right, Kyler, go out and catch this. So, and then a true story is after I see it, I call Kyler, and I'm like 27 at the time. I'm 27 or 28. Kyler's like 24, 25. He's been out of football for a year or two now. I'm like, Kyler, listen. Go start training right now. Get someone training you on tight end, how to block. I was like, I'll help you with your workouts or route running or whatever else. I said, go get someone else. I was like, you're going to the NFL as a tight end. I was like, they would love you. They would love you. You've played tackle before. Like, you would be one of the best blocking tight ends in the league. And I think he never took it as serious as I did, because I firmly believed that we were about to go from dominating flag football to Kyler being the next Mark Andrews. But needless to say, he kept working his day-to-day job. But so here's the deal. I've been thoroughly excited for Ethan Davis when I saw him, which I usually – it's funny now, and I've been sitting here thinking about it, that some of the guys we were really excited about as recruits are like this – they're really starting to shine. And we have – the cool thing is I have Twitter and I have film on here of us talking about, hey, this one's going to be good. We're liking this one, and now they're playing well. So not to say that we haven't missed on some – but I couldn't be more excited for Ethan, and I know they just put out the clip from him at the sprint or at the close scrimmage the other day of him going right down the middle, catching up what was probably a seam route, and it's like that is what I want. That is what I'm excited about, and I think the beauty of sports and being a fan of a team, you realize people and appreciate them sometimes more when they're gone, because of what happens the following season or two when they're gone. And so Jacob and Princeton were a nice 1-2 combo. And even though Princeton would frustrate me at sometimes, and I think that he was good, I still think that like an Ethan Davis could be better in elite, whether it's because of just natural gifted abilities of speed and whatever. But like what Princeton did as a short line guy or as a blocker or in the passing game. And I've always said if you get a tight end in this to where it's deadly because we're going to run the ball, we're going to bing, bang, all these quick shots to the outside, so you got to defend that. And then you got to watch about a guy burning you over top. And then it's like, then they're just like, oh, pop pass, and it should go for 5-8 yards, and it's going for 30 yards. Yeah. And that's the beauty of Heupel's offense, is that he really can take advantage of the defense from any position. And we'll talk about this when we get to quarterbacks and Nico in just a second, because it ties them into the running game. But I'm so excited for Ethan. I think Holden I'm not going to lie to you. At practice, it was fine seeing him. Watching some of his stuff at Notre Dame, it was fine. But I think fine is fine. I think he's going to come in, be an older guy, block well, catch a few passes here and there. And it's unfortunately he'll probably have to do the dirty work. Ethan will hopefully get Ethan will be able to take more advantage of his natural abilities, which is catching the ball, running the ball, running after the catch, and the more athletic side. But I'm excited to see, and I wanted to pull it up here because I know we looked at it when we went to practice. But some of the guys behind those two, and like the one guy that when he was walking down the field, I was like, who is 87 or whatever his number was? And it was the Miles guy who was the transfer from Alabama. And it's like those guys don't get the names like of a Cali last year going into the season. And then three or four games into the year, you're like, oh, yeah, they are a very integral part of what we do. Mm-hmm. And so, that's what I'm excited about. And tight end is probably more important to this offensive team than people ever mention or think about it, because you just see the highlights of the deep shots, the running backs, James Pierce coming off the edge. But the tight ends for us, I mean, it was Callie catching a pass against Alabama last year. It was Jacob Bourne catching a pass against South Carolina last year. I mean, Heupel will dial up his tight ends in some big-time moments. Yeah. And so
Princeton fans getting touchdowns versus Alabama in 22.
Yeah. So I want to make sure that I am saying the right person's name, and I should have looked this up, and then I got caught off track looking at other stuff. Yeah, it was Miles Kitzelman. He's a senior. He's a tight end from Hutchinson, from Alabama, 6'5", 256. And I can promise you, he's every bit of 6'5", 256 when we saw him at practice. So I'm excited to see a guy like that. A Charlie Browder who's been around the program for a while. He's a big guy. Does he come in and does he give you any reps as a blocker or anything like that? So once again, it's another very optimistic, hey, we're excited to see it, but it's still unfortunately unproven. And that's the other thing about it is, as UT fans, I hope we're not setting ourselves up for a disappointing year because we have so much optimism, but unfortunately we still haven't seen those proven commodities.
Yeah, no, you're right.
So, but I couldn't be more excited because of I weirdly do have the optimism. And I think that's going to be a good group.
I do too.
All right, quarterbacks.
Hold on. God, you keep jumping to quarterbacks. You still got O-line.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. What am I doing? Because I don't want to forget my 1 point about the running game.
Goodness gracious. Okay. O-line, as we go into it. Listen, the guys that we have that we know of, right? That we know who they are. We know what kind of players they are. There's 3 that are guarantees. Coop, Spraggs, John Campbell. We know exactly who those guys are, what kind of players they are, how smart they are, what they can do for us. And it's beautiful. I mean, absolutely beautiful to know that, to have that confidence as you go in for a first-year quarterback. Absolutely beautiful. Now, the unknowns are Lance Hurd. Yes, he's got a lot of playing time. Yes, he played SEC ball, played against SEC competition. But is he going to be a tackle that we can trust in, a tackle that we need, a big-time left tackle that can hold down the fort? I think so. I have trust in him. Watching him in his pass set, his ability that I got to in the spring, and just the limited time I was there, but I think he can be. I think he can continue to grow, and then I think he can solidify that left tackle position. Now it's up to the left guard and what's going to happen there. Who's going to play there? Is it Carrick? Can he stay healthy and stay there? Is it a younger guy in Shamrod? Is it Vyson Lang?
Jackson
Big boy?
Ledley.
Yeah. Who is it going to be in that spot? I don't know yet. I think a full competition for that position is really nice, honestly. And also makes the coaches think of hey, if this guy can do really well here, then maybe we can move this guy over there. And it does open up opportunities because I was literally playing guard going into my redshirt junior year, and they brought over now I'm blanking on it.
Coleman Thomas, Brett Kendricks, Jacob Gillum.
No. So they
Marcus Jackson.
The other guard in Colin Thomas's grade. He was a freshman. I was a senior.
Why
am I blanking?
Was it he was from Nashville?
Yes. Why am I blanking on this?
Yeah, not Marcus Jackson, but I know who you're talking about too. He wasn't bad either. He was a pretty good player.
No, he was great. It was he just kept getting injured. I mean, that was literally it. He had horrible ankles.
Anyways, I'll find it. I'll find it.
Find it for me. I can't believe I'm blanking on that. He's such a great guy. But he came over because he was there as a defensive lineman at first, and they brought him over to the O-line and were like, "Hey, try this guard out. Try this guard position out." And he played very well, and he was able to keep a very low pad level, stay under control, had great base, and they were like, "Listen, you're a good guard, and you create an opportunity for us to put Kyler at tackle and have you at guard instead of having Kyler at guard." So it's like sometimes those kinds of
okay, it's not Vinzo Bulwer because I think he played once you left.
No.
Not Drew Richmond. When I see it, I feel like
he's a freshman in 2014.
Hold on. I'm gonna not Austin Sanders, not Brett. I don't think it's Dontavius Blair. That's not it.
No.
Wait, I already said Marcus Jackson, not Marcus Jackson. Oh, I know it. I got him. This is it. 1,000% Ja'Shawn Robertson.
1,000%.
That's it. Exactly. I knew when I saw it, I would know who it was. I knew he went to NBA and from Nashville. Okay.
Yeah, he's from Nashville.
Good player.
Yeah, Ja'Shawn. So Ja'Shawn came over, played guard really well in practice, and they were like, "Hey, Kyler, we're going to bump you out to tackle because Ja'Shawn's playing very well at guard." So it's like when guys have that competition at a position, it can kind of mix things up.
Yeah.
And then I won't be alarmed if a Dane Davis somehow gets into the rotation. Like, it won't
I got a
shock
question.
me because Dane, I think, is like on his 6th year and has been in the program for so long. And I don't think people really understand how much solidifying your technique in a position and understanding what's going on around you is so important at O-line that it can make the difference in if you have actual success or not. Like, the tackle needs to know what's happening with every other position and needs to know, because like I said on Talking Vols with Boogie, it's not always about killing the guy in front of you. Your job is to prevent him from getting to another person. Okay? Sometimes guys don't think that when they're out there and they get all out of sorts and they start to think mano a mano and one-on-one. It's like, yes, you win your one-on-one matchups, but the ultimate goal is to make sure these 6 defenders or 5 defenders in front of us 5 offensive linemen do not touch who is getting the ball on this play.
I got to ask, though. Jackson Lampley started the Vandy game and the Iowa game. Do you not – and I think he played pretty well, which was nice to see. But do you think that they still roll with that since he was the starter last year? Like, is there enough of someone else, either Nate being a newcomer or healthy, to take over that? I mean – do you think that he has a chance to start there? Like, if you just let's just say if you're betting right now, it doesn't matter because you're not at practice, you truly don't get to know, but just your gut feeling and based on what you have seen, use your best educated guess on who you think starts there.
Based off what I have seen, I think Carrick gets the start.
I thought that's what you were going to say.
Yeah, I think Carrick gets the start. He's got the most experience at that position in general. He played it at Texas. I saw good stuff out of him in practices. He's just been injury prone. So it's kind of like, I don't know who steps up behind him. It really kind of annoys me that Addison Nichols left us. I thought that was a guy who could be a Swiss Army knife for both guards in the center position, and really kind of wanted him to be able to like step in if anybody were to go down. But I think Carrick gets that start beginning of the season.
You think we see some rotation during UTC?
I think it could definitely happen in the first 4 games. I mean, before we get to SEC play, I think it could happen for sure.
Yeah, I do too.
For sure.
So I'm going to go with Jackson Lampley based on what he did in those last 2 games. That's just what I'm going to do. And you're right, Carrick was the starter going into last year, but things change going into a new year and how one's finished. So, and I appreciate you saying Lance is. I'm glad that you said it's still unknown because it is. I know he's a 5-star. I know he played at LSU. I know what we've seen of him at practice. From physical wise, it looks good. Mm-hmm. I do know that we talked to somebody at practice and they're like, yeah, like he's good and he has all the tools, but like it's not a finished product by any means. Yeah. Now, that wasn't spring. That was not this year. But I do think that he will be good, but I don't think we just need to say, oh, he's going to be a solidified Juwan James. That's not fair.
No.
So, and the other thing is, my question to you is, once again, it's names of Cooper, who we love Cooper, and he's good, but he's got to stay healthy. Javonte is such a roller coaster where it's great 1 minute, the next minute he's getting absolutely whipped with the quicks, inside out, and he's given up a holding call or he's given up a sack. And then I think John Campbell will be fine. I think he'll be very, very solid at right tackle. Maybe he'll get beat once or twice because all these guys, even though they've been around it for a while, and even though they are older and that stuff matters and it helps, there are still physical gifts and overall ability that might not be there for some of them. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, like Javante's a good, awesome guard. We love this story. We love how physical and nasty he is. We love his aggressiveness and his nature. We love that he's running around with animals after we win a game. But like, there are guards that are better or that are more physically gifted. Yeah. It is what it is. Yeah. And you and I have watched way too many films of his where we're like, good. Holy crap, what the was that? Yeah. And those plays, unfortunately, can happen and get you beat. Now, I'm still thinking they're going to be good, but it's still – there's a lot of names again, but there's still not unprovenness, but there's still a baby bit of question mark in my mind. And that's all I have to say about offensive line. I think as a unit going into the year, I think we'll be a pretty good unit. I don't think that they will hurt us. I think that there will be some games where they play above their level and they run block really well, they pass block really well. So maybe another couple other games where they don't play up to speed. But that's kind of who they are. They're that range of Madden, which I like to say they're 82 to 88. And sometimes you get the 82, sometimes you get the 88. Most time it's 83, 84, 85. Yeah.
And this you could find weaknesses.
What's that?
I think you could find weaknesses in all of them.
Right.
Right.
Whether it's ability or whether it's injury and staying healthy.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I think this takes us into quarterback. I do think that Nico we'll say at the end of the year when we go back and look at sacks and stuff like that, I think that this unit will have a good number of not giving up many sacks and stuff. And I think that's because Nico's ability to get out of the pocket.
I completely agree.
And maneuver will be second to none.
Yep. I think that's what we missed last year without Hendon.
And I also think that our ability to get rid of the ball quicker than with Joe and go back to those. I mean, if you're in Heupel's offense, you're go. You got a good quarterback running it. These DBs, these defensive ends and D lines and linebackers don't have a lot of chances to get back there because they're either quick and fast. He'll bring in some sort of max protect with the tight end and running back when he's taking the shot. And so I feel like our sack numbers will be good. And I think where this offensive line will really be judged is the holes they can create on the running game, because I think Nico is going to be very, very elusive. And so I think the offensive line will be good. I'm
excited for Nico because, like what you said, he adds a wrinkle to the offense that we missed last year after Hendon left, which is escapability, which is keeping the play alive. Which is, hey, I got guys that are coming barreling down my face, but I'm able to sideswipe them, keep my eyes downfield, and make a play. And like Hendon did that a lot. He also made very good decisions when plays did break down to take off. I mean, that was something that like Dobbs did really well too when he was there. It was like, oh crap. The play is not going to happen. I'm taking off. I'm running. I'm using my skills. I think Nico can do the exact same thing. And I said this when he was in high school. The thing I loved about him the most is he had the opportunity to run a lot, and he would stay behind the line of scrimmage because he's like, I want to throw the ball. I want to get the ball downfield. And it is something he has been doing since high school that makes me go, oh, I can't wait. I can't wait till a play breaks down. He's rolling outside the pocket, and Squirrel's like, oh, I'm changing directions, going deep, and he throws a 50-yard bomb.
So I couldn't agree more, and I'm so glad that you brought that point up, because when you have a quarterback that either people know that they are really, really good at passing, maybe they're elite in the pocket, dissecting a defense, and it's death by 1,000 cuts. Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, whatever.
Yeah.
Then you have your ones that we obviously know that they're really good with their legs and that they can beat you with their legs, of a Lamar Jackson, a Josh Allen, or whatever.
Michael Vick.
Then you have the ones of like a Patrick Mahomes. And there's not two attributes of a quarterback that they can run and pass. It's they can pass, they can be mobile within the pocket, which also is still passing. They can design run, or they can scramble out and either make the decision to run and get what you get, or to keep the play alive and eyes downfield. Joe, honestly, on some of his design runs were pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
There was other times where he did escape a little bit and get out of there. There wasn't many that we would see him escape, keep his eyes downfield and hit somebody. But from a defender's point of view, whether I was in middle school, high school, college, whatever, if you got a really, really good receiver, you put your best corner on him, you put your best safety over top, and you say, this guy's not going to beat us. If you have a really, really good tight end, you make sure to get someone hitting him at the line, jam him at the line, throw a lot of people at him, get a tight end or safety. If you got a running back, we're packing the box. This guy will not beat us. But if you have a quarterback that can literally do all the things that I just said, it is nearly impossible to stop,
Mm-hmm.
and it is heartbreaking because you're on defense, and you might have stopped this punk for 4 quarters, and you're playing really, really well, and it is 3rd and 12. You got him right where you want him, and he breaks out of the pocket, breaks off a tackle. You think he's going to run. He pulls up, and he hits his receiver downfield for 18 yards. And it's like, what can we do to that? There's nothing that we can do to that. And that is what I think Nico is going to do. And that is what I'm very excited to see, because I think throw passer, good. Mobility in the pocket, good. Design runs, good. Breakdown runs, good. Breakdown outside the pocket passes, I think it's good. I think all of them are going to be good.
Yeah.
And last thing I'll say is, gosh forbid he gets hurt. But if something happens, I weirdly feel okay about Gaston Moore, because the guy's older. He's been in it. I think the guy's not going to win you any games, but he's going to run the offense pretty efficiently. And so I know we don't have like some redshirt junior or senior backup that's gotten a lot of snaps before and all that. I know that Gaston Moore's almost like a career walk-on backup, but I actually weirdly think that the guy would be pretty good from what I've seen. Now, if after that, I like Jake Merklinger a lot. I think that's a lot to ask of that guy. But for a QB room that everyone's like, hey, it's pretty disastrous.
Mm-hmm.
I think if something happened to Nico in the first 3 games, I think it's not like, well, the season's over. I think Gaston will be able to keep us in it at some point. But that's
he
what
doesn't
I
have the skill set that Nico would have and be able to take advantage of things like Nico can, but he's got the knowledge and the ability. Other people will have to step up on the offensive side of the ball.
Agreed.
Receivers might need to be that A- you talked about. Running backs might need to be a little bit better. And, God forbid if that were to happen, like, knock on wood, I'd want to try and keep Jake Merklinger out because of the fact that Nico is still there. Even if Nico were to get hurt, he's playing again the next year. And it's like, you're going to burn a year of Jake while Nico's still there. Like it leads to, like, if he plays, it leads to him transferring.
Let's hope that doesn't happen. Let's hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah. So,
all right, final question for the offense. So I want to hear it. Wide receivers, or we'll say skill, big boys, quarterbacks. Just kind of hit me with your A, B, C, and D, what you expect, and then how you feel about the offense compared to the other years that Heupel's been here.
Okay. What I expect, receivers, B.
Let me say this. When I say expect, not what you were like, hey, you guys need this. I'm saying what your educated guess of what will happen. That's what I meant.
Yeah, I think B. I think they'll be serviceable. I think it'll be good. there will be plays that they're going to have to make, which might put them in like B plus range. But I look at the other positions a little bit more importantly. Running backs, I'm getting into the B plus, A minus area with running backs. I think it's going to be super important for us to run the ball this year, and get good second and short situations, 2nd and 5, 2nd and 4. I think that's going to be very important for our offense. So I'm counting on those running backs. Tight ends, I'm good with a B on the tight ends. I think they can be better. Maybe a B plus for them. I have a lot of hope for Ethan Davis. I just don't know yet. Offensive line, I expect them to be in the A's. Like,
Okay.
I expect a lot out of them because of all the time they've had, because of all the playing time they've had. I expect them to kind of be the lead on the offense. I really don't want to see a bunch of MAs, a bunch of mess ups. Like, if someone gets a sack, it should be, this guy's going to be a first-round pick. He's an SEC defensive lineman. Like, he is very good, and he won his one-on-one matchup. Like, that's the kind of things, like, where I go, hey, you know what? Like, he's a damn good player. But letting a dude free, not picking up your blitzes, getting confused, not being able to bump off switches with your, guy next to you, that's the stuff that's going to really grind my gears because these guys have so much experience. And then Nico, in the quarterback position, what I expect, B plus.
Okay.
I don't want to say A minus, and get him into that spot. But man, like, if he really, really gets comfortable, I think he could do it.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's still young, and I think there's a lot of opportunities for some spots that he's going to be in that are going to be really difficult. I mean, this SEC is the deepest it's been in a long time. The middle of the pack in the SEC right now, there are 10 teams in the SEC who think they can make the playoff.
Yeah.
So,
I agree with a lot of what you say. I'm going what I'm going to guess is going to happen. I'm going to say receivers will be B plus. I'm going to go running backs B plus. I'm going to go tight ends B minus, C plus. I just, it's not fair to, I haven't seen it yet. So I don't think it's fair to predict more. So you said an A for a offensive line. I'm happy you said that. I think we'll be in good shape if they're a B plus. I think if we get an A from them, and I get it, I totally get where you're coming from. I still don't know because of Lance Hurd being new. I know he's talented. I got to see it. The left guard position, I still have my worries about the roller coaster ride. So if those guys are a B plus for me, I think we're really, really good. And I think B plus is perfect for Nico. So I just gave you basically all B pluses except for one thing, which I think with our schedule, if our offense is all B pluses, then I think that should lend to a 10-2. You're going to get one of the teams that you maybe aren't favored against. You'll drop another close game to put you at that second loss. So that I'm all around those Bs. I'm not sitting here telling you that they're going to be world beaters and A's and A pluses. So that's where I am. And here's a little thing that I'm going to wrap up because we're doing defense next week. I told you last year, midway through the year, or maybe even the start of the year, I said this team will go as far as the defense takes them.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wrong because last year the offense let us down some, and people tried to beat you and I up because they look at the Florida game, they look at the Missouri game, they look at some of these other games, and they're like, well, the defense gave up 30 points. I said, yeah, and we have a Coach Heupel offense that's getting 7 and 14 points. Unfortunately, that is unacceptable for him. The least that I can take from Heupel, because of how good he is. It's like, bro, you got to get me 24 points.
Yeah.
You got to get me 24. And so people are going to say, oh, the defense got their ass kicked last year. No, like the defense played well enough for what the expectations are, in my opinion, to win games. This year, defense next week, and I just gave a bunch of B pluses basically, except for tight ends on offense. I still firmly believe that this team will go as far as the defense takes them this year again, because I'm going to be very surprised if the offense has some lackluster performances like we did last year. I give maybe one game, but I don't see it happening multiple games again. But that's just me. We'll see.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think what we talked about with Nico and his added abilities to the offense, what we didn't have last year, makes the difference.
Agreed. I agree. If everything else is status quo.
Yeah, exactly.
See you, brother. Talk soon.
All right, man. Okay. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. If you are watching, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, leave a comment. We love the comments on the YouTube. If you're just listening, rate and review, download, re-download, follow us on all those listening platforms. If you're looking to follow us on social media, it is at Pancakes and Bacon on Twitter. It is at Pancakes and Bacon _RTI on Instagram. You can follow Reed at rbacon26 on Twitter. And then you can follow myself at Kyler Curbison on all social medias. So check me out there. Man, it's going to be exciting. Cannot wait for this offense to get going and the season to start. But thank you guys for being the best fans in the world. And as always, go Vols.